Today I want to take a look at all the products that have been released for Standard and discuss and rank how impactful they are, both when they first came out and now many years later. I've done this type of list every single festival collection. It's kind of like a tradition, except of course for the first festival collection because we only had one other booster when that came out. And it's been really fun to sort of look back and take a look at all these sets. And I even got to do it last year with Outer Orange, which was lots of fun because, you know, every time I do one of these, she'd do a nip and tuck or a rip and twist or whatever she would call it, where she'd basically take my content ideas and make her own video, but make it worse. And we got to collaborate on this yesterday, which was fun. Last year, not yesterday. Whew, man, that was too long ago. Sometime last year, and I did that sort of bad, unfortunately, where I had that poor girl on for like 4 hours to do this type of video, but I really should have done the format differently, which is what we're gonna do today. So this is the list that we had, and what I'd like to do is just sort of take a look at this first, see if there's any changes based on what's happened since this list was derived, and also then take a look at where the new product since then stacks up. This is probably going to change a couple of Orange's takes, right? But that is fine. Again, she can do her pull and twist or whatever it's called to have her own take when she gets the chance. So what I mean here, and I feel like the meaning has changed throughout the years, but impactful just kind of means that it actually had an impact on the game. So it was a set that came out, and either the cards in it are still used to this day, or at the time they were really relevant for a long time. And it doesn't also mean it doesn't only mean competitively. I also want to take a look at just how it was in terms of like reprints, in terms of like having good casual decks, good playable decks for people to play, all that kind of stuff, right? So in essence, it's how good the set was to an extent, but good is kind of you know, relative, right? So we can start here at the very bottom with the not very impactful. I think most of these remain the same. The only difference is that I'm actually going to take Shaman King. We're going to stick this up here. We're also going to take this lyrical product. We're going to put it down here. And we're also going to take this set and we're going to put it down here. And we're also going to take this and we're going to put it down here. And we're going to take this and we're going to put it down here. And I think after that, it's fine. So the reason for these changes is that all in all, like, I don't think like this perhaps had an impact when it first came out, but I feel like right now, as time went through, it doesn't really matter too much. We don't even use this carry anymore since it got powercraft or retrained with the new one that came out in set 8. Set 8, right? So for its time, it was kind of nice, but it really didn't really have any lasting impact. You can't really do anything with this product anymore, and most of the cards, there are just so many better alternatives to them, right? So I feel like it didn't really have a long enough lasting impact, especially as like a starter product, right? Set 2 is just a really bad set overall, right? It did have some impact in that it was like the encounter set and had some stuff, but overall it really did not have a lot of an impact, right? The stand-up trial decks or startup trial decks, these are pretty bad, unfortunately, right? So these are of course the first taste that we got of energy, and they gave us our first 6 decks of the Divines era. And while these decks have actually gotten decent support, I feel like they really could have done a lot better with these decks overall, but these trial decks specifically are super bad. They've had an impact, but like in a bad way. So I think I'm actually going to put them in here because they've had an impact, but in a bad way. Because of how bad the product was, that it's still talked about to this day. Like, please do not give us another product like this because it was so bad, right? So that's kind of the impact that this product had. So I guess I'll change my mind on this one. And set 4, I think was a pretty whatever set, just because of the fact that it was a set that didn't give us anything too crazy. Like, it gave us a lot of new decks, but as a lot of people have maybe experienced or mentioned before, it felt just kind of like half of set 5, right? It was how do most people put it? It was like the most wait and see type of set. So I feel like on its own, it really didn't have an impact. Combined with like set 5, you're sure, yeah, that gave us huge swings in terms of like competitive and like everything, right? But on its own, it's really whatever set, personally. Then when we go up to what was actually impactful, I'm actually going to drop down the trial decks here. I'm sorry, the stride decks here, because I don't believe they actually were that impactful. And then I'm going to take this trial deck, and we're actually going to slide it over here and link it up here and here, right? And then we're going to take set 3 and we're going to drop you down over here. Right? So the reason for this is basically these products have had some pretty big lasting impact in somewhat negative ways, which is kind of ironic. And I think I'm just going to put this one here because I actually still really like this product. But I feel like these have had lasting impact in pretty negative ways. What I mean by that is that similar to this product, we received this product with a bunch of random garbage inside of it. But we still have Elementario was absolutely game changing, right? Even for the premium format, which I'm not really discussing in today's video. But like in every format, you know, Elementario has been humongous, and this was really the first way to get it. This is still the easiest way to get it, right? For the most part, unless you get the like premium deck sets, which are no longer available. And I feel like this was a lot of people's introduction to Standard. And we've seen all of these decks here get evolved massively over time, right? So I feel like they have an impact both on the type of Vanguards I would introduce, but also just because the product was so bad. That's the kind of thing, again, where we look back on like this and it's just like, please don't do this again. Please do better than this, right? Triple Booster is kind of the same thing, right? Because we are constantly talking about getting a triple drive booster too, right? Every time we get to like a new set announcement, everyone's always praying for it to be another triple drive type booster, which means just a reprint set. So the fact that we still talk about this product in that sort of light, again, sort of negatively, because we don't have a product like that anymore, I feel like this also had an impact in that sense, but maybe not as much. Maybe I'll put it like down here, right? But it definitely had an impact in terms of like being a reprint product that we actually got. But not getting that anymore is, you know, somewhat questionable. And then the Shaman King set, this one's a little bit favoritism. I could pull it down maybe a little bit. I just really like the product, but I feel like to this day, I still have people saying that they got into Vanguard because of the Shaman King set. And it once again highlights yet another negative is that we have all these cool collabs that can bring people into the game, and then we do nothing with them. And then these decks just sit and rot, right? And we get no support for them ever. And all those people that got into the game because of these collabs get nothing. They're forced to just pick something else or just not play Vanguard, right? So, which I feel is kind of a shame. So I guess we can put this down here. The reason I put these stride decks down here is at the time, we didn't really, I don't think when we did this video that the decks were actually out, right? I think me and Orange assumed that these would be a lot more impactful, but they really weren't, because they really neutered both of these decks, which is kind of depressing. Coming from someone who doesn't really like strides or stride deck sets, they really didn't do a great job with these in terms of, they did, I guess, a better job in terms of balancing them, but they just overbalanced them too much, especially considering the type of gameplay that these types of decks can do, right? I feel like they nerfed parts that didn't need to be nerfed, right? Like originally the issue with this was that the scaling that the crest gave you was too massive for when it actually released, whereas like now it's not really that big of a deal. And I feel like because of this being so huge when it came out, these guys got hurt by it when they really didn't need to per se, which is kind of disappointing. Granted, you know, Night Rose has done some stuff, right? She hasn't been like completely useless or anything like that. Harry's kind of been you know, but they definitely have not had as much of an impact so far as they probably would have originally. The other thing is I'm going to move Lyrical Divine Set 1 somewhere down here, because this was kind of impactful, but it ended up being not really, because a lot of the decks got power crept pretty quickly. A lot of the girls, you know, it was a good set, but it just was not enough to make all of the Lyrical Nation last for how long they have without any direct dedicated support, right? Because this came out and we still haven't gotten the number 2, right? This is set 1, this is set 2. Set 2 is not even out in Japan yet, right? And this was out by the time I recorded last year's video. So it's less impactful by the fact that it just was not enough to last that long for all the Lyrical decks to get enough support. While those decks are all still really playable, they just did not have enough to go on, especially with so much other stuff going on in the other nations. Hopefully that makes sense what I'm trying to say there, right? Then last but not least, to just take a look at the impactful sets. I don't have too much to change here. I'm just going to slide the Stride deck sets to the front, just because of the fact that they were just so like defining. Right. Oh, when they came out. I'm also going to move set 3 up here, and I think like sets 2 and 1, right? These sets were also super defining for a lot of different reasons. Most of these are because of their meta impact, right? Like these decks were just around for so long. Maybe not so much Luard, but definitely I'll put Luard like down here, but definitely Shiranui, definitely Chrono Jet, right? Especially when it comes to like having people get into the game and having product. These were definitely also competitively viable for a long time. The Vines had a huge impact, right? Thanks to the Vines anime being pretty decent. So we saw a lot of players come in here, a lot of shops pick up the game after this, right? Especially set 2 being really good. Like to this day, this is one of the best sets I feel like that has ever released. Tying it up here with like set 4, right, of Overdressed, like this set is huge when you actually look back and look at all of the cards that were released in this set and how basically all of them see play to an extent. And then set 3 was also huge because this is the set that of course gave us Shoujo Doji, who is extremely strong, and it also gave us Dayusha and a couple of other tools. So maybe this one's a little bit lower here, but still pretty impactful. So that's my thoughts on just the updating what me and Orange did last year. Then we can take a look at the new products, right, that came out since we did that video. So we actually got a couple of products in between the Stride deck sets in English, at least. Starting with here, the Varilla Start deck, right? This is the first Stardust Blade. How impactful was this product? So this one's a tricky one because of the fact that we already have the new version coming out almost by the time this video comes out, right? So this set was actually really nice because this is, to this date, ignoring this, right? I guess to its own date, right? Ignoring this and then ignoring the these products, right? It was the best starter product that was available for Overdressed ever, all time, right? So I'm happy to put it like here in impactful because it was good, but it wasn't like super insane for itself. But it had a lot of good things going for it, right? But I feel like it just didn't have as strong as an impact as it probably should have for maybe a couple of different reasons, right? One thing that I guess I should maybe consider for next year is that they didn't include the manga as a product here, even though it's technically a quote-unquote product because it does have cards in it, or card in it, but I didn't really include that, but maybe I'll consider that next time around. Then we have ourselves set 5, which I feel like was super impactful. Super impactful, right? Because this gave us Raziel Vita. This gave us Leverage Imperial. Decks that for the most part still kind of see play to this day, right? But this was a meta defining set, and it just had so much going on with it, and it kind of opened up the format a little bit, right? Just with how Vita worked, just with how Leverage worked, right? Granted, it was a bit stuck to just the two of them. It opened up the format just for them to only exist to an extent, but it was super impactful in that sense, which is ironic just because of how it works with, you know, in comparison to set 4 that really didn't really do anything, right? We were still basically playing off set 3, right, with Shoujo Doji, whereas like this just gave us some like new tools, right? Even though this is the set that gave me new barrel, it just didn't really do anything on its own. But set 5 was super impactful, at least for now, right? I'll probably change it down to impactful next year, but for now I think it was super impactful, maybe like here, right? Then we have ourselves, after that we had the Stride deck sets. Those came out, already discussed those. Then we had ourselves set 6. So set 6 is an interesting one because this is supposed to be the G anniversary set, right? This is like, I guess, the 10th year of G, and as an anniversary, this is laughably the worst anniversary product I've ever seen for anything, right? Even though they did some interesting things. They did some special energy cards of G characters. They did some special illustrations for Chronojet and Messiah. And then they reprinted the original deck sets, right? Messiah and Chronojet, they reprinted them in full in this product. And they also included updates for those decks, including strides in the main sets for these products, right? For these decks. And they also wrapped up the Craycross Epic story, which was kind of disappointing because for the Craycross Epic decks, the only one that really got anything was Rora, who got a brand new form. Everyone else just got some random order or blitz order or set order, which ended up being mostly impactful for most of those decks, right? Because this gave us the Eva order, which really pushed that deck to the top again. This gave us the Tamagura order, which was okay. This gave us the, I guess that's really the only one that was impactful, really, is the Eva one. Because Tamagura and Thegria's orders were fine, but they weren't like enough to push the deck. The Chaos one was whatever. The Roar one was whatever, right? And Roar's new form was kind of whatever. The other thing that they got was the Fire Regalias, which is, to this date, the strongest Regalias card ever printed, right? So, I feel like I'm going to preemptively put this into super impactful. Just because of the precedent that it's set, where everyone is expecting the next non-anime set to reprint Shiranui and Luard, for example, right? They expect that pattern to happen, and then they'll get their own strides in that set. And I don't know if that's going to happen, but I feel like this had a lot going for it. I don't think it executed on everything. Had a lot of interesting stuff in it. So it could potentially lead to something super impactful, but I feel like for now I'll leave it here, and then next year I'll probably put it down somewhere over here, right? Then after that, we had a set 7. So set 7 was a very interesting set. I forgot to say, this had reprints also. This reprinted the Stride Dragons as well, and gave us the clan triple rares that you can only use if you have a clan, which are high valued right now, right? Set 7 was the start of season 3 of Divines, somewhat the new era, I guess, because we stopped doing Fated Clashes and now we're doing the Deluxe in the anime. And this gave us a bunch of new sets. On its own, this set is impactful just for giving us Buff Saga, which is still the best deck in the format many sets later, right? Buff Saga is still a very strong deck, but it also gave us a lot of interesting decks and a lot of new interesting things. We got the Persona Shield tickets in this, which we really haven't done much more with since they came out, right? I was expecting that to be a little bit more of a mechanic rather than just like a thing that one set of cards use, right? So we should be getting a version of this for Lyrical and the Lyrical product, but other than that, they gave us Vicerug, who becomes a really good set after a while. Becomes a really good deck after a while. It gave us Aggro Sirens, right? It gave us a lot of cool new things here in this set. So I feel like this was pretty impactful. And I feel like I don't know if this is a really good starting point for a lot of players, but they did reprint triggers and over triggers again and PGs and stuff like that. So it's a pretty good set. I think it's a really good set. Whether it has a lasting impact or not, I don't know. But for now, I'll put it in impactful. And I think I'll put this like over here. Yeah. Then we unfortunately had the Koto set, which is a set that I was super looking forward to. Had a bunch of reprints, had a bunch of interesting decks in it, had a lot of really cool things. Was at all not impactful. Most people forget this set even happened, because even when it was released in Japan, it was kind of not super strong. They were okay, the decks. But then when they released in English, they were like a year later. Well, not a year later, like 7 months later. So they were even weaker by then. So they were a fun novelty. But on top of the fact that it's a side set, a collab set, which don't do good in English, shops know this after getting burned from all their fucking Record of Ragnarok product that they still have rotting on their shelves. A lot of shops didn't buy into this. On top of that, this is the start of Bushiroad being affected by tariffs. So again, a lot of shops did not want to buy into this. So this was a very somewhat cursed set. And I remember even when it released, there was a TCG player boycott. Right? On top of that, the main online store that you can buy cards from had a boycott when this set released. So this is a bit of a cursed set. The pull rates for the reprints were also extraordinarily bad, right? So it's the set that had a lot of promise, could have done a lot, but it unfortunately did not. So then we have ourselves set 8. Set 8 was pretty interesting. Once again, it gave us a lot of interesting tools, a lot of interesting decks to play with, somewhat mirroring, right, Divine Set 2, but it wasn't as impactful, I feel like. I feel like maybe it was a little bit more impactful than Set 7, right? But it wasn't like super crazy. It gave us a new Magnolia, a new Bladmeyer, right? New Youthberg, but a lot of them really aren't super successful right now. They haven't been doing super well competitively, but you know, a lot of fan favorite decks to that extent. But they also supported a lot of other different decks, right? Everyone got a little bit of something similar to what they did here in Divine Set 2. So it was good, but it wasn't like hella impactful. But at the same time, we had these products, right? Which were the Leonore and Indrak Jeweled Master deck sets. So these are different for any of the other deck sets products, because these are basically like structure decks, or maybe even beyond that, because these are just built to play as soon as you get them. And product wise, they're pretty solid, right? They have a lot of really good cards in them, a lot of good reprints in them. The base product that you get is pretty good, right? You don't need to have massive upgrades as opposed to, you know, something like this if you were to get it now, right? But this stands alone pretty well, right? And at first it seemed a bit dismissive of our product, because we immediately got new forms announced for both these decks, right? But with the power of hindsight now that you know, I was able to delay this video and see the new forms being revealed, turns out you actually need still most of the cards that are in this product. So this is going to be a really good product, I think, over time. For me personally, I don't find the product to be at all impactful. That's only because I already had all the cards for both these decks, right? So and the reprints that they included were mostly reprints for cards you could only use for the specific decks. So it was something that, like, for me personally, didn't really matter. The only other thing they added were Regalia's pieces, where the Leonore one was really nothing, and the Jack Jeweled one was actually pretty good. They weren't specific to those decks, they just happened to be in this product. They were good, but they really haven't had any huge impact in the game, not something like the Fire Regalias has, right? So I don't really know where to put these for now. I feel like they should be really impactful. They should technically be like up here, but I feel like they're like maybe over here, right? I don't know. My perception of this could be skewed, because again, I already had this product, or the cards in this product. I only bought the Urara one because I was at a locals and I forgot my energy generator, so I bought this. Unfortunately, paid like $60 to get an engine generator, but these also had character triggers, which was kind of nice. So this was kind of nice for Chaos. You can finally get the Michiru draw, crit, and front. So you can add that to your Chaos deck. Same thing for Urara, right? She had her own version, which is like fine. But it's not like they were like super high rarity I'm sorry, super easy to get because they were super high rarity. That's what I'm trying to say with that. Sorry, I mixed that up in my head. So I'll leave that somewhere around there. Then we have ourselves this year's festival collection. This year's festival collection was interesting because it wasn't as crazy as the previous ones, right? Because we had a really big swing in festival collections being pretty strong, right? So this is 2023. 2022, even though it's down here, it still had a bit of an impact because this one gave us the new what's his dumb name? The new Zorga, the new Orphis, right? It gave us a couple of interesting cards that we can actually play with. So this wasn't horrible. Then we had sets, Festival Collection 2023, which was massive because this gave us support for all the lyrical decks, or at least most of them. It gave us new over triggers, right? New that really warped the game to an extent, right? Because we still see the blue and red over triggers played to this day. It gave us a lot of different things. I feel like there was Forbidodol in this set as well, right? Forbidodol came in this as well, so massive, insane set. Then 2024 gave us the Dual Nation cards, right? As well as these dragons that really don't see as much play, as well as a ton of reprints. Then 2025 came in and it reprinted the stuff from most of the stuff from 2024, that being the Dual Nation cards and a couple of other cards that got reprinted, mainly promos. No new over triggers. No new Regalias piece. Instead, we got ace units, which are somewhat questionable. They've seen a lot of play, ironically, right? I can't say too much about them because they have been seeing a lot of play. Most of them in every deck, which makes sense because you only play one copy. And they are pretty effective. But an ace unit, you can only play one copy of a card that has the ability of ace unit, and you can only use the effect of an ace unit once per the entire game. So it's kind of like a Regalias piece, but on a unit, except for whatever reason this unit doesn't have any shield value, which is a very questionable choice. Other than that, this set wasn't like insane compared to the other two. Like, it's still a good set, I feel like, but it just wasn't as insanely impactful as these. I feel like over time it will be, but for now it's like somewhere over here, I feel like, right? Like, I don't think it was like insanely impactful. It didn't change the game a lot, right? It even introduced a brand new deck in Alfred, but Alfred fucking sucks. And English Bushiroad distribution did the questionable decision of not giving us the Alfred promo that comes along with the deck that was released in the Japanese version. We did not get that card yet, so very weird product. Should be really good, but it just doesn't feel as good, if that makes sense, right? Then after that, very recently we got ourselves Divine Set 9, which is kind of interesting. You know, we got Daikaiser, we got Minerva, we got Ezel, we got Heart Lulu, which is now a really good deck as well. We got some support from some other decks. I don't believe we got any reprints. We did get the new triple rare generics, which are like fusion generics, right? Which I feel like would be really good. I feel like it'll be as impactful as the clan ones here, but right now they're just not seeing as much play, even though they are seeing play. They're just not as insane as these yet. I don't think this set was that impactful, to be honest, other than, you know, disregarding Heart Lulu, who is a really good, strong deck, that unfortunately I feel like he's going to fall off very, very soon because I don't see him getting any support anytime soon. Maybe he'll get a promo, but we already know what the current or like the next upcoming wave of promos is, or the current one I think it is, right? So I don't know if that deck's going to get any support anytime soon. We're wrapping up on the reveals for set 11. And then we're going into, I guess, Lyrical. And then we'll go into set 12. So it's going to be a while before that deck gets any support. We don't have the Braven collab either. No, like, triggers. No nothing in this set. We did get the Maigo and Avemujica collab in this, which is kind of like whatever. Because unfortunately those decks didn't, like, perform super crazy in Japan. And they're not really doing super crazy in English either. So kind of a nine burger of a set. Pretty interesting set. Has some cool stuff, but in terms of an actual impact, I don't think it's going to have one right now. It might have one later on, but as of right now, I don't think it has much of an impact. So I even want to say it's like down here-ish. Or like maybe in the future this will change, but right now it doesn't feel super impactful to me. Then the next products that are coming out are the start decks here for Zero and Shiki, or Varilla and a Station. And these are pretty interesting because again, I'm looking at this from the scope of an English player, right? Who plays in global, who doesn't play in Japan, who doesn't play in the Asia network of card games. So this Varilla product is weird because we already got Elf Knights here, right? And that deck combined with this makes that deck really good. It's already pretty good, but this makes it even better. On their own, no, they're kind of whatever, because this, for English, is just a carbon copy of this deck. It just has slightly different cards. Has some cool things to it, right? It has some cards that are in foil. You get 2 cards in foil, including triggers, which is kind of nice. You can get a Zero crit or a Shiki crit in these products, which is kind of cool in foil. There's a reprint of Shinri, just one fucking copy in base common rarity. But it's kind of carbon copy of this minus a couple of cards. So I don't know how to really put this, to be honest. I'm gonna put this like down here. Even though together these are much more impactful, but like by itself, I don't know how much impact this is really gonna have. Whereas like I feel like this might be super impactful, right? The Shiki one I feel like might be insanely impactful because the Station is an insanely good deck, right? And getting access to that basically out of the box is super good. If Vanguard were in a good spot, right, and if the world were in a better spot, this would be an insanely good product that would actually boost up the game. Since Vanguard is none of those things and the world is not in one of those things, it's kind of hard to say what kind of impact this will actually have. So I think I'm gonna have to put this down here, but I feel like this is an insanely good product. I don't know if it'll actually be that good over time. We'll see, but it should be a really good product. Then that's all the product that we have that's released in English. This one is coming out like I think the Friday of me recording this and uploading this. Same thing with this one. Then these one are coming up, right? So far we have these 2 released in Japan. This one we're in the middle of reveals for, and then this one we know nothing about so far. Just know that there's like 2 new decks coming in and that these 3 girls are getting dress ups. And then this product actually released in Japan already. Just very recently, literally I think this past Friday, but we have no idea when this is coming out in English right now. So for right now, I'm going to preemptively put this over here because I fear that this will come out super late and it will have no impact the same way as its predecessors did, right? So this is Token Rambu, essentially Wave 3. Set 10 is a really interesting one. I don't know how much of an impact it's actually having. Drek Jewel doesn't really have. Drek Jewel Magnus doesn't seem to be doing crazy hot. Buff Saga is still seeing a lot of play. This is the set, of course, that does push Vicerug to be a really good deck, but also includes Nana Clear, which isn't super crazy. Has some interesting stuff for Magnolia. A couple of other decks, but I don't know if this really is that impactful of a set personally. I've been sort of absent for the reveals for this, so I don't know how impactful this really is. I'm gonna put this like over here maybe, personally, not knowing how it's gonna be in English, right? This here I'm gonna preemptively put over here because this one's an interesting one because it's yet another collab set. It's a standalone product, right? A lot of people love Buddy Fight, not myself included. I never got to experience it, right? But it is a product that is finally coming out, and it's coming out on time for English, which is nice. However, it's also getting its own side/main event for BCS. It's a day 2 event, and it's also a product that hasn't really done super well competitively, right? It wasn't as strong as like when this came out. This is seeing better results right now, right? Whereas like this was kind of there. It wasn't like super strong. And I'm pretty sure we got this before we got set 10, whereas like now it's going to be the opposite for English. I believe this released right after set 9, right? So I fear that this is just going to not be very impactful at all. I feel like it's just going to be one of the products that people really like for that month, and then after that they completely forget about it, and Bushiroad will as well and no longer support it, which I hope is not the case, but that's just my prediction. Finally, set 11 is kind of hard to say. But I'm going to put this like over here. I don't feel like it's super crazy from what I've seen. Again, it hasn't been released. So I don't have any like numbers of how the set is doing or anything like that. But from what I've seen, I don't know if it's going to be that crazy. I don't think it's going to be a game-breaking set, right? Meta warping or like anything like that. I feel like it's just going to be a solid set. Pretty middle of the road. Nothing too crazy. And then Lyrical Set 2 has a lot of heavy lifting to do. So much heavy lifting to do because it's been so long since we got this, and all the support in main set for Lyrical really has not been enough to do much for the nation, aside from the 1 or 2 specific decks that have been supported. So I feel like just in terms of how much it has to live up to, I'm going to put this in not very impactful, just as a prediction. Just because of how much heavy lifting this is going to have to do, right? Because this is going to have to make up for a year, I think, of no main Lyrical product for majority of the Lyrical decks, on top of making up for the following year after that, if we're not going to get another product like this after this one for another year. So it has to catch up the decks, you know, up to this current year and keep them fed for as long as possible. And I feel like that's way too much of an expectation to put on a single set. So I don't know if this is going to be impactful. I think it's not going to be, because it's just a lot to ask for. But those are my thoughts on all of the booster products released for Standard. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Till next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Play Vanguard and have yourselves a damn good one.